Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial on Java. Today's tutorial I'm going to continue my discussion on Java threads. In this tutorial I'm going to talk about how to create the threads and what are different type of threads and some of the useful methods in it. So there are two ways to create Java threads. The first one is the extending a thread class, and the second one is the implementing the runnable interface. Whenever we're going for the first method, we have to override the run method and use or invoke the start method. And whenever we are going for the second one, that is the implementing the runnable interface, we have to do first implement run method in runnable interface and then instantiate the thread object using any of these two constructors, and then we have to invoke the start method. Remember that runnable interface is an interface and all the methods in an interface are abstract. So whenever a class is going to implement any of the interface, it has to implement the abstract methods. So that is why we are implementing the run method in the runnable interface. And another thing need to be notified here is the start method. Whenever we are creating the thread, it doesn't run automatically. We have to invoke the start method in order to run it. So now let's talk about the different type of threads. So we have a main thread. This thread starts immediately when a Java program starts. Other threads are just spawned from these threads, which are the user threads. And then we have the daemon thread, which is a low priority thread. And one of the example is the thread that is using or doing the garbage collection. And these threads are running behind. And the JVM really doesn't care about the daemon thread. So that means these daemon threads cannot prevent the JVM from exiting when all the user threads finish their execution. So if you look at this diagram, that we have whenever the JVM, so let's say the JVM starts and starts. So here we have the daemon thread, garbage collection example, and these are running in background. And then we have here the main thread. The main thread can spawn, let's say, thread A, and it can also spawn thread B, and this can spawn again thread C. Okay, so these are the user threads. So now let's get into the code, and we need to see that how we are going to create the threads. So the first method, let's look into that. The first method is extending the thread class, and this is what we have done. We have created a thread class which is extending to the thread, and then we are overriding the run method, and the run method is very simple over here. We are just printing something in the run method, and you can see that we have put that into the try catch block because we need to handle the exception. And then in the main method, you can see that I have instantiated the new thread, and then I have invoked the start method within the thread. So now let's run it. And that, see, you can see the thread 13 is running. So because I'm printing the current thread's ID, and in this case, the thread 13 was running. Okay, so again, very simple, extending Java class. Override the run method. You put whatever business logic you want within the run method, and then you have to invoke the start method. The second one is the runnable interface. So over here you can see that thread 02 implements runnable interface, and I am implementing my run method over here, and this is just a very simple print statement. And then you can see that I have instantiated a new thread, and I'm actually passing I'm actually passing the runnable interface, the object that I have created within the thread class. Okay, and then I have invoked the start method. And if I'm going to run it, and you can see that the thread is running. So again, for the runnable interface, we have to do what? We have to implement the run method, and then we have to instantiate it and pass on the object that we have created over here, and then just invoke the start method. Now, we also talked about the priority of the threads. So the priority of the thread is a thread that the JVM will look into that, and based on the priority, the JVM will start your thread. And also we talked about the main thread. So if you look into this, that I have created a child thread, okay, and this is extending the thread class. I have got a constructor. I'm passing on the name of the thread, and then I'm having a run method over here, which is I'm overriding from the thread class. And then again, I'm just printing this .name, which is the name of the thread, is running. Okay, and I have over here, I have created the new instance, okay, and passing on, the name of the thread, and then I can set the priority of the thread. So by default, the priority is 5, but you can change it. So now if I'm going to run it, let's run as Java application, and then you can see that the first line is printed as thread main 5. So this is what is being printed, and at this point the main thread was running, and that was printed. And then I have created the child thread, and within the child thread I have set up the new priority, okay, which is the max priority, and you can look into that. If you click on here, the max priority is 10, okay, and the norm priority is 5. That is from the thread class. Okay, so that's about two features about setting the priority and then looking into the main thread. Now let's move on to some other things. That is that priority can be set to manipulate threads. So let's say we have set three threads with priority 3, 6, and 5. Then the thread with priority 6 will execute first, and then thread priority with 5, and then the thread priority with 3. Now there are two methods that we would like to discuss about. One is the slip. So the thread.slip causes the current thread to suspend execution for a specified period. Alright, so here you can see that I have, let me clean these things. I have created a thread. Okay, here I have created a thread, and this thread is this class is thread 04, and I have a string, array of a string, where I have said the first line is Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and then the next line is Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. So like this, there are 4 lines, and then I'm going to print it. So in here, if you look into this is just an array. This is just a loop, and the loop is moving from I equals 0 to the length of the array, and I plus plus, and then we are going to do what, a thread.slip, and then system.out.println, and I'm going to print each of the lines. Okay, so again, remember that first we have a pause, and the pause is for 4 seconds. This is 4000 means is milliseconds, and which is like 4 seconds. And then we have we are printing the message. So now if I'm going to run it, run as Java application, and you can see that there will be a pause and then print, pause and then print. Okay, so we can see that all of the lines within the array are printed, and we achieved a kind of like a pause, and we invoked the slip method, and we passed on the parameter, which is 4 seconds in this case. Okay, so now there is the other method that I'd like to talk about, which is the join method, and this is very important. The join method allows one thread to wait for the completion of another. If T is a thread object whose thread is currently executing, and then such as T join will make sure that T is terminated before the next instruction is executed by the program. So that means if we have a thread T, in that case T, if we invoke T.join, in that case T will first complete its execution, and then the other threads will come up to this, will try to run. Okay, so now let's look into this scenario, thread 05, and then you can see that I have thread 05 extending thread, and in there I have, this is the constructor. I'm just doing what, I'm just passing the name of the thread, and then I'm doing an iteration from I equals 1 to 5, and I'm pausing it for 500. Okay, and then I'm just printing the thread name. Okay, and I'm going to get the current thread and then the ID. Okay, so now over here I have created 3 instances, or three threads. Thread T1, I'm passing on the name of the thread T1 as thread 1, and then I have this one, and then I have this one. So I have 3 threads, and then I have put the T1.start. Okay, and I have mentioned in the try catch block, or I have invoked the T1.join, and then I have again started the T2 and T3. So now if I'm going to run it, you can see that how orderly it is, run as Java application. So it will make sure that T1 finishes first. Okay, so you can see here that first all the thread 1, so this one is the thread 1, and the thread 1 is part of what? Part of the join. So in thread T1 I've invoked the join, so that means thread T or T1 is first completed. Okay, and then you can see that the other threads are running, thread 3, 2, 2, 3, so they are running. Now if I am going to make a comment it out, okay, and then let's run it, and then you can see that they will run randomly. Okay, so you can see 13, 14, 15. So the next one should have been 13, but the next one actually ran 14. Okay, 14, 15, and then the 13 came last. So as I said before, that the order of the thread start cannot be granted, only the JVM knows, and it picks up, or it does it randomly. So but if you invoke the join method, in that case the join, or the thread on which the join is invoked, will be executed first, and then the other threads will be executing. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.